Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3875BN. Today's date is April 2nd, 2026, and the title of the episode is Trump is Playing Chicken with the Deep State. Trump is using the deep state system against them. Now, we all know Wall Street doesn't lose money on sell-offs. You do. They create the panic, wait for you to dump your position out of fear and scoop it up at a discount. The big banks aren't selling their gold, they're buying yours. Every time the headlines scream, regular people sell, every time regular people sell, the institutions are right there, waiting with open hands. You built portfolio insurance for a reason. Don't let a red day hand it over to the people who cause it. That's why I tell people to talk to Noble Gold Investments. They will help you build a long-term plan and, more importantly, help you stick to it when the noise gets loud. The minors' up and downs, that's weather. The long-term trend, that's climate. And the climate has been favoring gold for 5,000 years. So the next time you see a dip and you feel that knot in your stomach, ask yourself one question. Am I making this decision, or is Wall Street making it for me? Don't let them shake you out of the position you built to protect yourself. That's exactly what they want. And right now, all new qualified accounts receive a 10th ounce American Gold Eagle as a thank you. Real gold in your hands, that's the whole point. Go to X22Gold.com. That is X22Gold.com, or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, you could see that they are panicked because Trump continually keeps them guessing. Remember, he's playing a chess match, the most important chess match we have ever seen or he's ever played in his entire life. And he's let us know that he's playing against very smart people. Violent, but smart. Nice, but violent. And some just violent. And for him to play this chess match, he can't go directly at the deep state players or the central bankers. He just can't say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Even within his administration, because you don't know who's on your side, who's not on your side. Even though he brought people in, you truly cannot control people. I think people understand this. Just go through your own life. You've had people that were on your side. You thought there were people that were on your side. And then you found out that they were not on your side. They betrayed you. Might not have happened right away, but I think everyone, even with family members, people experience this. Now, think about what Trump is going through in this cesspool of D.C., where everyone's a backstabber, everyone wants something, everyone's trying to get ahead, everyone's trying to do things for themselves. They're being influenced by money, they're being blackmailed, they're doing all these different things. Now, the person that comes up to you might be on the up and up. The person might say, yes, I'm with you, I'm all for you. Actually, I think we've seen this with influencers. And then all of a sudden, they do something else. And you say, what's going on? I mean, look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. Look at Joe Kent. Look at what these people have done. And if you notice, the people that are still loyal to Trump, they don't go after him afterwards. Those people that Trump might have moved into a different position or transitioned them into someplace else, or they decided to resign, those people that are still in line with Trump, they're still in line with Trump. Those people that resigned or Trump removed them and then they start attacking Trump, well, you could see who they truly are. They were just playing the game. And it seems that Pam Bondi, she was removed from her position. Now, I know a lot of people are saying she's fired just like Kristi Noem, but I do believe Trump moved Kristi Noem. I think he was going to move her anyhow, but I think he basically got ahead of the story where they're going to try to blackmail her in DHS. I think this is why they went looking for what her husband was up to and what he was doing and things like that. And they were going to try to use that to actually get her to do certain things, but that completely and utterly failed. And I think Trump got ahead of that story and moved her into a different position to where she's going to assist in the deportation negotiations and coordination. And she's also going to coordinate in removing the terrorist organizations on the Western Hemisphere. With Pam Bondi, she is the Attorney General, and a lot of people didn't like what she was doing, but I do believe a lot of these people have been put into these positions to do a certain job. Doesn't mean that they're going to stay in these positions forever. I mean, look at Bongino. Why was he brought in with Kash Patel? He was there to assist in restructuring the FBI organization. You have to remember, these agencies are so corrupt that you just can't go in there and do business as usual where, hey, the Department of Justice is going to go and prosecute people. Well, first of all, you need the FBI. You need assistance. And if the FBI isn't there, well, you have major, major problems. So with Pam Bondi, people are all like, oh, the plan is done. See what's happening. No, do you really think Pam Bondi is the last AG we're going to have? Do you think it depends on Pam Bondi to bring charges against people? No. Trump is running the show. Trump has control over the agencies. These people are doing what Trump wants them to do. Why was Pam Bondi brought in? It's starting to look like she was there to restructure and put the DOJ on the right path. Was she the person to actually move forward with the prosecutions? Well, I don't think so. And think about what Trump does. He uses the Scaramucci model because, again, what happened to Pam Bondi? Didn't she have to move into a military type of complex because there were death threats against her? Well, I do believe that Trump basically shifts the playing field to confuse the enemy every single time. And if you notice what he said in his post, she was going to transition into the private sector. So if she's transitioning, I do believe that she is moving into a place where she's going to assist in a different way. I do believe the next person that he brings in, or maybe the next person after that, maybe we'll have an interim person. Like, of course, right now, Todd Blanche is the interim person, and maybe he'll stay in position right now because, again, Scaramucci model. And maybe later on, he'll bring in the heavy hitter. Maybe he's been keeping that person in the background, and that heavy hitter will do what Trump wants him to do, which means accountability, justice. Can we have accountability and justice right now? It's going to be a little bit difficult with the judiciary, which is completely and utterly corrupt. I mean, all we have to do is look at the past examples. Look what the judges are doing now to Trump. I mean, they're trying to stop a ballroom being built, saying that he needs congressional approval. Well, he just got approval, but he really didn't need it. So basically, they try to delay it, and now it's not delayed. So the judges have continually been attacking Trump. So if you really think we can get a fair trial, you think we really can round everyone up and have accountability, we're not at that point yet. We don't have the leverage. Yes, we have a lot of the leverage, but Trump is still dismantling the system worldwide, shutting down their power structures, these power structures that might do us harm. And think about it. He's at war. Is he really at war with Iran? Are they really fighting back like it's a war that we need ground troops? No, that's not a war. That's a mission. That's a mission to decimate and destroy everything the deep state players put into Iran, to show them that, look, they cannot wield fear across this area. And now he's pointing directly at the EU nations, pointing directly at the deep state players, and he's actually playing chicken with them. Who's going to swerve first? Do you really think it's Trump? Do you think he's the one that's going to swerve? Or as time goes on, do you think the deep state, the EU, they're going to bend a knee to Trump and they will swerve away and they will lose the game of chicken? That is what's going to happen because who has the leverage? Trump does. And think about what he's doing. He's showing them, look, you want to play this game? You want to sit there and say, okay, we're not going to open up the strait. You're not going to guard the strait. You're not going to buy oil from the United States because where else are you getting it? From Russia? It's either you open up the strait and you get the oil from there and it's international waters, or you get it from the U.S., but instead they're deciding to continue with Russia, which is very, very interesting. So basically he says, okay, you want to play the game? I'm going to show you. Every time you say no to me, I will destroy another structure in Iran. More weapons. I will destroy everything there. There will be no fear. There'll be no way of gaining control of the Strait of Hormuz through Iran. You will not be able to do anything. You'll have no choice but to do two things. Either call it international waters or buy all the gas and the oil from the U.S. and keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. Those are the options. And who do you think is going to win? Trump is going to win. The people of this country are going to win. Trump is dismantling everything the deep state players have put together going all the way back to 71 when we came off the gold standard. He already has the other nations, the other oil producing nations in the Middle East are on his side. The main area that he's going after is the last part of that. And soon that is going to fall like everything else. And you can see that Trump now, he's using the deep state system against them every step of the way. When you look at the elections and everything they put together, he's using it against them. He's using the post office against them. Remember, there's already databases that have been created, but they use the databases in another way to actually cheat in the elections. Trump is going to be using their databases that they created to actually make sure the elections are secure. So Trump is using every single weapon that the deep state created against them. And in the end, he's going to win. He wins every single time because you have to remember, he created the counterinsurgency. He's the president, he has the military, and he has the people's support behind him. And that is what you use to win the war. Each one of these things that you're witnessing right now is a battle within the war. It is not the war. The war is with this deep state establishment that they've created, not just here in the United States, but across the globe. And he's exposing their entire criminal syndicate system. And you're seeing it firsthand. He wants you to know what they've done, how they've done it, and who's responsible for all of this. That's what people are learning. Because again, if we're going to have accountability, if we're going to have justice, people must understand what they're fighting for. See, when he shows you who's money laundering, how the system works, who's been funneling the money, who's responsible for it, who's been blackmailed, who's running pedo networks, who's profiting from drugs and oil across the globe. You think the people are not going to get angry? You think the people are going to say enough is enough? You think the people are going to understand what they're fighting for now? So this never happens again? Oh, of course the people are going to understand it. In the end, the people are going to understand this is why we have to stay vigilant. This is why we have to make sure that this never happens again. You see, if Trump just came in with the military back in 2020, if Trump just rolled in with the tanks and the soldiers and just removed Biden, people go, what's going on here? Why is he removing the elected president? Why is he having a coup? This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. People would not understand. They wouldn't understand what the deep state has done. And then he would have to start dismantling it all. And nobody would be on his side. This is why he has to go down this path. This is why he has to show every single person in this country what's really happening. The people must understand. The people must be arrested at the low level, the mid level. And yes, eventually we will get to the upper level. But again, step by step, level by level, he's showing you who's who. So this way, when we say enough is enough and we want to take back this country and we get closer to the midterms, you'll know who to vote for. Actually, he set up the D's perfectly. He's using their system against them perfectly. And once we gain control of the House and Senate, he can move to phase 2. You see, phase 2 is what? Accountability and justice? Removing the rest of the laws and everything else that they put into place, removing the Federal Reserve, going back to the source of the problem. Yes, this is when we have accountability. This is when we have justice. Remember, Trump has to accelerate everything in these 4 years. Yes, it might take a little bit longer, but the framework of everything, I think he wants completed within the 4 years. And to reverse everything that they put into place, he has to do this at lightning speed. And if you notice, all the executive orders, all the other agencies and everything else, he's reversing all of it. And he's moving very, very quickly when you really look at it. Because again, they've taken years to create this system. He's dismantling it very, very quickly. And yes, he's going to be putting other people into place. And I wouldn't be surprised if more people are shuffled around in government to keep the deep state players on their toes. Remember, when the fake news becomes very, very comfortable after going after the people that he put in place, it's time to move them and shuffle the deck. So this way, they have to they have to research, they have to find something on someone. If you notice, they couldn't find really anything on Bondi. They couldn't really find anything on Kash. The only thing they had at this point is Noam's husband, which they were going to use most likely for blackmail. Now, they might find other things, but at this point, they've been trying, and they've been trying pretty hard. So those trusted people that Trump put in place, they were good people. And you could see that they're having a very, 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 very difficult time with all of this. Now, we're going to be talking a lot more about the elections and the war in Bondi a little bit later in this report. But first, let's talk about what Trump is now saying about Bruce Springsteen. And it's not just Bruce Springsteen. You have a lot of these Hollywood singers and the rest all coming out and shilling for the deep state players. But this is what he said about Bruce Springsteen. He said, bad and very boring singer Bruce Springsteen, who looks like a dried up prune who has suffered greatly from the work of a really bad plastic surgeon, has long had a horrible and incurable case of Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. The guy is a total loser who spews hate against a president who won a landslide election, including a popular vote, all 7 swing states, 86% of the counties across America. Under Sleepy Joe and the Dems, our country was dead. And now we have the hottest country by far anywhere in the world. MAGA should boycott his overpriced concerts, which suck. Save your hard-earned money. America is back. President GJT. And think about it. They're all like, no kings, no kings. And they're paying, they're actually saying you have to pay thousands of dollars to see their concerts. Unbelievable. And people are paying to see a concert, not a activist concert. They just want to hear singing. And he's not that great anyhow. So when you look at this, you could see that once again, Trump is calling out all these fake people. And that's really what they are. Now, the other thing that's really interesting is FBI Director Kash Patel. He is continually arresting more and more people. All the people that the past FBIs could not find. They just couldn't figure it out. Because, again, you have to remember the agency was not developed to bring people to justice. The agency was developed to protect the criminal syndicate. FBI Director Kash Patel put this out and said, FBI was proud to join our partners announcing a major breakthrough in a decades-old case out of Texas, the infamous Texas Killing Fields case where the bodies of dozens of murdered women and young girls were discovered in a League City field near Houston from the 70s. Through the 90s, James Dolphs Elmore Jr. is in custody and has been indicted for his alleged role in the deaths of a 16-year-old Laura Miller and 30-year-old Audrey Cook, 2 of the women whose bodies were found in '86. Thank you to the FBI Houston partners in Galveston and Texas law enforcement for the great work. This is the second major decades-old cold case the FBI has helped solve in a matter of weeks, as our investigative team and in-house investigative genetic genealogy team continue to do outstanding work with partners 24/7. These women and their families deserve justice. The FBI will never stop working to deliver it. More to come. And if you notice, every step of the way, what is Kash doing? He's building the FBI back up. He's showing people the FBI is going to be going after criminals. Now think about why he's doing this. Because when all's said and done, the people are going to say, okay, the FBI now can go after those people that have committed treason in this country. He's building the case to show people this is what they're going to be doing. They're going to make arrests. They're going to put people on trial. But he's building back the credibility of the FBI. And again, you're going to see this and continue to see this in all the different agencies as time goes on. Now, think about this. For a very long time, we've heard the Ayatollah scream out, "Death to America." And basically, they're saying it's not just a slogan, it is a policy. Now, think about it. If Iran is the proxy forces of the deep state players, and Iran is saying death to America, and you see the D's actions today, you see the brainwashed people on the street, you see Antifa, you see the fake news, they're all against America. Is it all starting to fit right now? They truly want death to America. They don't want America to exist. This is why they trained Antifa. This is why they brought in the communists. This is why they brought in the Marxists. Because, again, their entire mission was to destroy this country, destroy the Constitution. And yes, it's the D's. Yes, it's the fake news. Yes, it's certain individuals that run corporations. Yes, it's the installed puppets across the ocean. Yes, it's Soros. Yes, it's people above that. They want this country destroyed. So when they say it's not just a slogan, it's a policy, they're not just saying it for Iran. they're saying it for the world. That is the mouthpiece of the deep state players. They can say it freely right there. That is what you're seeing right now. And Trump is continually showing the deep state players, listen, you want to play chicken? Let's play chicken. Every time you come up with an excuse, every time you say there's no way to open the strait, every time you do something, I'm going to hit a bridge, I'm going to hit more missiles, I'm going to hit everything. And Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said, the biggest bridge in Iran comes tumbling down, never to be used again, much more to follow. It's time for Iran to make a deal before it is too late. And there is nothing left of what still could become a great country. President DJT. Now remember, who's instructing Iran? It's the deep state players. So basically, Iran, they're done. Who's giving Iran instruction not to surrender? Who's dictating this to the IRGC? It is the deep state players. So basically, in essence, Trump is saying to the deep state players, surrender, stop this. And if you don't, I will continue this. Now, think about this. We have Austria right now. They rejected all U.S. requests across their airspace since the start of the Iran war. Colonel Michael Bauer said, every time a similar request involves a country at war, it is refused. We have France's President Macron says it's unrealistic to open Hormuz Strait by force. Macron also says President Trump is contradicting himself every day on Iran. Now, of course he is, because again, every war is fought with deception. So why would he come out and just tell you exactly what he's going to do? Absolutely not. But is it just Macron? No, none of the major U.S. allies, approximately 35 countries involved, are currently ready or willing to militarily open the Strait of Hormuz by force and provide ongoing protection during the active conflict. So they don't want to get involved. And everyone agrees the strait needs to reopen. They agree it needs to reopen, but they don't want to get involved. So that's very, very interesting. And the EU leaders, they're kind of trapped in all of this. All these different countries, they're trapped in it. Because remember, they stopped their oil and gas exploration. They chose to chase net zero economic pontifications. They closed their refining operations. They took apart their coal-fired electricity plants. They disassembled their nuclear power capabilities. Then the absolute cherry on the cake, they voted to stop purchasing oil and gas from Russia. The EU is now in the find out stage of the F around and find out position. Gasoline prices have skyrocketed. The last shipment of jet fuel has arrived. Major airline carriers are canceling flights due to lack of fuel. Faster than the EU can organize meetings to discuss their position, EU-destined LNG shipments have diverted to Southeast Asia and India as the Asian nations bid higher purchase prices for the vessels literally on the water. The entire energy sector in Europe is now in crisis mode, with leaders predicting it will get much worse within days, not weeks. The one element missing from the lengthy diatribe of EU leader quotes is any self-reflection, any admission their EU vulnerability was entirely driven by their own policies. And why don't they just buy fuel from the U.S.? Why don't they just buy LNG from the U.S.? Why do they have to get it from this area? Does that make any sense? No, and Trump asked that question. We'll be getting to that in just a sec. But President Trump says we're going to be out of Iran pretty quickly. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon, nor do they want one. He doesn't really care about the nuclear material. He says we'll watch that by satellite. So just by saying this, he's letting everyone know that was that the true target if we don't want the uranium? I mean, it's buried, but they could try to dig it up. Or was the main mission to remove the proxy army and actually push the fake allies into this position and remove what they put together going all the way back 47 years to control the energy sector? Because right now, the proxy army that they had is gone. U.S. Central Command says, now in our fifth week of campaign, it is my operational assessment that we are making undeniable progress. We don't see their Navy sailing. We don't see their aircraft flying. And their air and missile defense systems have largely been destroyed. So basically, they've got nothing left. And Trump let everyone know we're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong. Pete Hegseth says back to the Stone Age. Now think about why they're saying the Stone Age. I think they're mocking the deep state players and all their wars that they had. Because if you go back in time, this is a recurring American threat going back in decades. 1965, Air Force General Curtis LeMay famously said of North Vietnam, we're going to bomb them back into the Stone Age. 1991 Gulf War, U.S. Secretary James Baker warned Iraq would be bombed back to the Stone Age if it didn't leave Kuwait. Trump now used the near identical wording multiple times in the past 48 hours. So it was deliberate. And I think he's mocking the deep state players, saying, yeah, everything that you did, all these wars that you had to maintain control and keep your system alive, I'm dismantling it and I'm going to bomb it back to the Stone Age. I think that's what he's truly saying. And Trump, he suggests to countries that cannot get fuel over a Strait of Hormuz closure, buy oil from the United States of America. We have plenty. We have so much. Go to the Strait and just take it or protect it. What are you going to do here? Make up your mind. Clandestine says, all right. The overall message from Trump is that our objective are accomplished. Iran's capabilities are decimated and we're in the final phase. Iran can choose to make a deal quickly or it will destroy their infrastructure, but Trump is on the way out. Trump called on the nations of the region who use the Strait of Hormuz for oil to send ships to secure the strait moving forward because we are leaving and we don't use it. There are many indirect jabs at NATO and a lot of praise for our Middle East allies, to which Trump named Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain. However, the biggest message Trump sent was the comparison of this conflict to the forever wars of the past that lasted years, if not decades, compared to the last 32 days of this operation. The overall tone and signal of the address felt like an unofficial end to the operation. Trump said that this will be resolved shortly. The markets will start to recover and oil prices will go down. Trump is signaling that he's about to withdraw. It's just a matter of doing so in a controlled and methodical manner. And I do believe before the United States does anything, did you know a popular looks maxing streamer said Gavin Newsom would beat J.D. Vance in the 2020 election because Vance was overweight and Gavin is better looking? Then Vance showed up to a recent interview looking completely transformed. Just weeks after the comment, everyone's pointing to GLP-1 type of drug, the same type of weight loss drug that 31 million Americans are on. But here's the thing. You don't need a prescription or a needle to get those results. This is why I'm obsessed with the particular GLP-1 supplement instead of a pharmaceutical override. It uses plant-based clinical studied ingredients like metabolate to help my body naturally boost its own hunger controlling signals. I get the same fullness and fewer cravings without the prescriptions, needles, or the growing list of side effects making headlines. It supports my weight management while protecting my metabolism so I can keep the results for good. To kick off spring, get 51% off only at trimwithx22.com. Every order comes with free VIB coaching for life, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free express shipping with subscriptions. Once again, that is trimwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. He's going to make the deep state players, the allies, make a decision. And this is the game of chicken that we're watching right now. John Conrad, the fifth, says, U.S. Navy will not open the Strait of Hormuz. Trump gives nations who import oil from the Middle East three options. Buy your oil from the U.S. and Venezuela instead. Secure the strait themselves with limited U.S. support. Wait for Hormuz to reopen naturally. So think about this for a second. Without Iran having any type of weapons, without Iran controlling the strait, if the U.S. leaves, will the Strait of Hormuz open naturally? Yes, it will. You'll see the other nations, and I'm not talking about the allies, will probably see other nations secure that and say this is international waters. But he's giving the allies a chance. It doesn't have to be this way. So make your decision. Which way are we headed here? American Debunk put the sentence that Trump is using the Iran war to send a message, and tonight at 9 p.m., he'll double down on it. This is obvious if you look at everything Trump has said over the past few weeks. Let's look at it all and then analyze it from the persuasion angle. And you will realize what is happening. Trump to Britain, build up some delayed courage, go to the strait and just take it. Go get your own oil. Trump to the Iranians, Seize control of your destiny. Take your government back. To everyone else, fend for yourself. Trump said today he is absolutely considering withdrawing from NATO. The pattern is so obvious, and now that you see it too, you can notice all the ways Trump and his administration are leveraging the Iran war to force allies to take agency. We'll talk about why below. Trump is telling the entire world the same thing. Stop waiting for America. We're not your parents anymore. We're not the police country anymore. Grow up. Why was the U.S. in control of everything? Because the deep state players had to control their system. Trump doesn't have a system to control. He has the U.S. to control. Develop some agency. Take what you need. Handle your business. Democrats are going to view this as a bad thing, but forcing the world to grow up is good for everyone. Rubio confirmed yesterday that the U.S. is destroying Iran's military ahead of schedule. Trump followed with, the war could be over in 2 to 3 weeks. Trump and his team are wrapping things up. They're bombarding the media allies in Iran with the idea that the war is winding down. This is intentional and will speed up negotiations because it is in everyone's heads now. So look for Trump to continue this message tonight and for peace talks to speed up following the speech. The persuasion move underneath it all. Trump is reframing dependency as weakness. Every country that has spent 70 years calling Washington when something goes wrong now has to ask questions they've never had to answer. What do we actually do on our own? Trump can't just end NATO or force out some new deal. He has to prime everyone for it first. And that's what it's happening right now. He's leveraging the Iran war in this way. Here are my predictions for what the Trump-Iran war produces and makes way when the dust settles. Iran is fully disarmed. No threat to Israel or the Middle East for generations. NATO dissolved or a new deal is made. The Russian-Ukraine war ends and the dissolvent revisions of NATO will be the key to make this happen. You just watch. Trump is about to do all three with this one conflict. Trump is using the Iran war as the mechanism to sever the world from America and create peace. Absolutely. And you have to remember the deep state players, they've been controlling the world for a very long time. This is why we had these endless wars, because it's controlling their system. Trump doesn't have to control his system. He doesn't have to control their system. So he doesn't need any of this. The people of this country do not need any of this. And once again, whatever they controlled, Trump is now releasing that control. And he's giving them options. But again, you have to remember the deep state players, they're still following and taking orders from those behind the curtain. And this is why they're not giving. This is why it's a game of chicken. And Trump said, NATO won't be there if we ever have the big one. You know what I mean by the big one. If we ever had the big one, hopefully we don't. Relationships very good with the big one. Better than with NATO. Is he talking about nuclear war? Maybe, maybe not. Starting to seem that way. And you can see that Trump now, he's leaving it up to the deep state players. And if the deep state players think that they're going to be able to rebuild the proxy army or build the weapons there, they're not going to be able to. Trump has already let them know the regime has changed. The regime now is on Trump's side. The weapons will not be there to access anymore. Now, the deep state players have to figure out those puppets in those countries have to figure out what do they do next. And basically, they're going to stall right now. And Trump is going to keep hammering and hammering until they can't do anything. Because think about it. Think about all the pressure that is on them. As fuel prices continually move up, who's hurting? Europe is hurting. The deep state players are hurting. And they'll only take it so far because they can't have the people turn on them. Trump knows this. He knows it's just a matter of time. So they're going to have to make a decision. And he's forcing them to make this decision. And soon you'll see the Strait of Hormuz, it'll be open to the people. Maybe it'll be closed right now, but eventually it will open naturally if they don't do it themselves. And it will be for the international community. Iran will no longer have control, which will then basically destroy the entire oil system that they set up, which means Trump now controls the energy sector. And he's doing this because they put all this together going all the way back to when they took us off the gold standard. They established the Middle East. They established the oil center of the dollar. And they forced every single country there to sell the oil using the dollar. And Iran was put into position to control the price of oil. And they could make it go up, they could make it go up, go down, just from this one little area. Think about the amount of control they have. Trump just removed that control. And now they're floundering. They don't know what to do. Now, the other thing that we could see is Trump is also using leverage now on big pharma. And remember, a lot of the pharmaceutical companies, they create their drugs outside of this country, most of it in China. And Trump, he put this out, and Eric Doherty put this out. Trump will potentially slap 100% tariff on big pharma companies who refuse to offer Americans the lowest prices under most favored nations. The draft order reportedly leaves a pathway for Pharma to cave and lower prices. So basically, he's using, if you notice, he's using tariffs to leverage everything the deep state players have set up. And now what are they going to do? Are they going to say, oh, no, we're going to keep our prices high? Fine. We're going up to 60, 70, 80% tariffs. Good luck with that. We'll get other people to create the drugs, generic drugs. So this is not going to work in their favor whatsoever. It's all completely and utterly falling apart. Just like when we look out through the influencers, and there are major influencers that have very big audiences, and it's very interesting how they basically turned on Trump. And it seems that Trump now is telling Erica Kirk that, listen, all these people that are coming after you, all these people that are defaming you, maybe you should start suing them. Sue their ass off to shut it all down. Now, I do believe he's come out with all this right now, telling her to do this because, once again, we're approaching the midterms. And these people have very big audiences. He's been backstabbing Trump. They're no longer on Trump's side. And you know what they're going to do in the end. They're going to split or try to split the election results in regards to the Republicans. Because if you could split the vote, what happens with the Democrats? They will then win. Think about that for a second. So I do believe they're going to try to do this. And there are a couple of influencers that are out there. One of them is Tucker Carlson, I do believe. And Trump now just called him out on it. He put out a truth, and it's referring to an article from the New York Post from Douglas Murray. And it says, deranged Tucker Carlson backstabs Trump. So he's letting everyone know that Tucker Carlson is backstabbing him. Because I do believe in the end, they're going to use their influence to try to split the people in this movement. And they're going to say, hey, look, Trump endorsed this person. Well, I'm endorsing that person. You decide who do you want to vote for. I think this is their move to give the D's the ability to maybe win the election. Is it going to work? I don't think so. I think Trump is now heading them off and calling them out on it ahead of time. But let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. But one thing we know for sure, all the fraud in this country is going to be exposed. And it's not just fraud. It's the criminal syndicate money system and how they stay operational. Remember, the money funds their operation. Antifa, the terrorism, everything that they do, installing those people in government, bringing in the attorney generals, prosecutors, hiring people in the agencies. They use this money to keep their system operational. Trump now is showing the people, look how bad it is. You think it's just a little area? You think it's just Somalis? No, it's a lot worse than you could ever imagine. And he has to show the people the system because, again, we have to take control back from the system that they created. FBI Director Kash Patel put this out and said, earlier this morning, the FBI and our partners executed multiple raids near Los Angeles, California, as part of a fraud takedown. Operation Never Say Die. Sounds like a James Bond type of title. Targeting 11 individuals who allegedly engaged in a massive fraud of taxpayer-funded healthcare systems. The fraud totals at least $50 million. This is in coordination with Trump's task force to eliminate fraud, already moving quickly. Thank you to our great state, local, and federal interagency partners who worked seamlessly together on a team effort and executed. Awaken Outlaw says, "'Tis but the early stages of a much larger takedown. The sheer amount of fraud perpetrated in California is on a scale few can comprehend. Expect it to expand wildly as events move forward." And I agree with them 100%. We're going to see the fraud in these states. we're going to see something that we've never seen before. And this is why I think they're saying, listen, if we got rid of all this fraud, we would be able to balance the budget. I think it's in the multiple trillions of dollars. And this has not just been going on for 1 year. This has been going on for multiple years. So it's a lot of money. And think about all the debt that we have. Remember, this is a rebellion. We, the people, are not responsible for the debt that has been created by a rebellion. When did the rebellion start? Did it start with Obama? Does it go further back to 1971? Does it go all the way back to 1913? Think about it for a second. So if you read Section 4 of the 14th Amendment and you go down this whole list of them, that if there's a rebellion, we the people are not responsible for the debt. So I do believe Trump might use this to say that we do not own this debt. Now, it depends on how far back he goes. If he goes back to Obama, I think at that point in time it was like $10 trillion in debt. If he goes back a little bit further to 71, when we came off the gold standard and we went full fiat, at that point in time, what was the debt? 2, 3 trillion at that point? So if you remove all the fraud, the money laundering, if you remove the rebellion, do we really have to pay off that much? No, we don't in the end. But let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that we could see is that the Colorado court affirms Tina Peters' conviction, but reverses sentencing back to trial court. And yes, it ignored Trump's pardon because, again, the president cannot pardon someone on the state level. But once again, what just happened here? Well, Mike Davis explains. The Colorado Court of Appeals confirms what we said for years. Mesa County District Court Judge Matthew Barrett illegally persecuted Tina Peters for her First Amendment protected political views. 9 years in prison for a 69-year-old woman because Barrett didn't like her political views. Barrett is a garbage human being. He shouldn't be on the bench. He should be in prison. And yes, the appeal worked, and it confirms what everyone's been saying for years. Tina Peters should be free now. And let's see if that happens. I do believe as time goes on and we get control and leverage over all these different states, she will be freed. Now, the other thing that we could see, it looks like Trump made a deal with Mike Johnson and Senate Leader John Thune in funding DHS. And this is what he put out on Truth. Thank you to all our great congressional Republicans, House Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Leader John Thune for their work this week. Republicans are unified and moving forward on a plan that will reload funding for our fantastic Border Patrol and immigration enforcement officers because the Democrats are fully and 100% committed to the radical left policy of open borders and zero immigration enforcement, which will hopefully cost them dearly in the midterms, allowing murderers and criminals of all types into our country totally unchecked and unvetted. I will soon sign an order to pay all of the incredible employees at the Department of Homeland Security. Their families have suffered far too long at the hands of the extreme liberal leaders, crying Chuck Schumer and Akeem high-tax Jeffries. Nevertheless, help is on the way for our brave and patriotic public servants who have continued to work hard and do their part to protect and defend our country. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. And once again, you can see every time the D's try to do something where they keep the pay from the good, hardworking people of America, Trump just reverses everything that they do and basically shows the people he's on their side. He's going to get it done. He's going to pay them. So what are the D's going to do now? No, we must stop the pay. Are they going to sue? Yeah, this is not going to work out too well. It's going to be a complete and utter disaster for them because, again, look what side they're on and look what side Trump's on. More and more people are coming to the side of Trump, especially those hardworking people. When you look at the far left and you look at Antifa and you look at the rest, no, you're never going to see them come to the side of Trump. But moderate Democrats, independents, when they see this, they say, you know something? He's working for America. Now, today we've learned that Pam Bondi decided it was enough. Or did Trump decide it was enough? Well, Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said, Pam Bondi is a great American patriot and a loyal friend who faithfully served as my attorney general for over the past year. Pam did a tremendous job overseeing a massive crackdown in crime across our country, with murderers plummeting to their lowest level since 1900s. We love Pam, and she will be transitioning to a much needed and important new job in the private sector. Transitioning. That's an interesting word. To be announced at a date in the near future. And our Deputy Attorney General and very talented and respected legal mind, Todd Blanche, will step in to serve as Acting Attorney General. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. Todd Blanche says, Pam Bondi led this department with strength and conviction. I'm grateful for her leadership and friendship. Thank you to President Trump for the trust and the opportunity to serve as Acting Attorney General. We will continue backing the blue, enforcing the law, and doing everything in our power to keep America safe. Attorney General Pamela Bondi responded and said, over the next month, I'll be working tirelessly to transition the office of Attorney General to the amazing Todd Blanche before moving to an important private sector role I am thrilled about and where I will continue fighting for our president and his administration. Leading President Trump's historic and highly successful efforts to make America safer and more secure has been the honor of a lifetime and easily the most consequential first year of the Department of Justice in American history. Since February 2025, we have secured the lowest murder rate in 125 years, secured first ever terrorism convictions against members of Antifa, shattered domestic and transnational gangs across the country, taken custody of more than 90 key cartel figures, and won 24 favorable rulings at the Supreme Court. I remain internally grateful for the trust that President Trump placed in me to make America safe again. So think about what she did here. She secured the first ever terrorism convictions against members of Antifa. Gee, is that coming up? Absolutely. Shattered domestic and transnational gangs across the country. Broke up those people that might do us harm. Taken custody of more than 90 key cartel figures. So she set everything up. She prepared the stage. The stage has now been set. And why did Trump remove her now? Because I think she has a different job she's transitioning to, and she's going to support Trump in a different way, while having an interim attorney general confuse the deep state players, while Trump brings in the next person. Now, the next person might not be brought in until maybe 150, 180 days, whatever the acting attorney general, that time span is. But I do believe Trump is going to bring in the person when the time is right. And think about it. We're heading towards the midterms right now. If he wants to get the heavy hitter in there, and he wants to keep the deep state players confused for a specific period of time before the midterms, and then win the House and Senate so he can get his attorney general confirmed, the one that he really wants confirmed quickly, is the timing perfect? It seems that way. I don't know if that's going to happen that way, but it seems like it's set up that way. And if you really look at it, the acting attorney general, he gets about 210 days. That brings his term to October 28th, around that time frame, right before the elections. And after October 28th, without a pending nomination, the acting AG may no longer perform the functions and duties of the office. Any action taken after the date generally have no force or effect. So let's say he's the acting attorney general to October. Trump then nominates someone right before the midterms, and now he makes that person the acting attorney general, and waiting for the confirmation, waiting for the new Congress. This is very, very interesting. Let's see how this all plays out. But Karma Patriot says, I think mixing things up is a brilliant Trump strategy. It keeps his enemies constantly off balance while giving President Trump total control of the narrative. Loyalists serve their purpose effectively. Then, just as the deep state builds up its stockpile of weapons against them, Trump pulls them out and replaces them with fresh faces. This protects the loyalists and keeps the administration most powerful positions highly effective. And remember, Karma Patriot says, acting, temporary role, cause destruction, then move on. Hard to hit a moving target. Scaramucci model, temp hire by design. So let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. And like we said before, she's transitioning. And think about what Bondi did before this. Yes, she was the Attorney General of Florida, but before that, she was a partner and chair of a corporate regulatory compliance at Ballard Partners, a powerhouse DC lobbying firm founded by Brian Ballard, who has deep Trump ties. His firm exploded during his first Trump administration. She lobbied for Fortune 500 companies and foreign governments, pulling in millions. As an ex-U.S. Attorney General, she'd have an unmatched credibility when talking to the current DOJ, White House, or Congress. Companies and interests that want favorable regulatory treatment, investigations softened, or policy wins under the Trump administration would pay top dollar for her. Could that be used in Trump's favor? Most likely, yes. Can he go up against other lobbyists and win? Yes. So it seems that this would be a win for Trump if she decides to go back to Ballard. But let's see how this all plays out and see what happens. This will be very, very interesting. Clandestine put this out and said, contrary to popular belief, there is not a big red button in the AG's office that says indict the Dems. This is a massive multi-pronged global operation combining military, political intelligence, international, informational, psychological, and economic elements. Regardless of who Trump appoints as his AG, the big prosecutions and indictments that everyone is clamoring for are not coming until we reach the stage of the timeline, which is very likely going to be towards the end, after the public have been thoroughly convinced. Once all rogue deep state elements around the globe have been neutralized, like Iran, Venezuela, cartels, Antifa, etc., and the war between Russia and Ukraine is resolved. Also, I think people are directing their displeasure at the wrong people. Ultimately, I don't think the DOJ will be correct avenue to prosecute the magnitude of the crimes committed. If we are to assume that the Dems committed treason, like Trump has said many times, with the whole Russia hoax, bioweapon development, COVID, Uranium One, human trafficking at the border, election fraud, insurrection, media manipulation, etc., would it be the DOJ prosecuting that? Well, it would be if they're not in the military. If the military is going to go ahead and prosecute, they have to be enemy combatants. We're talking treason and crimes against humanity committed by a vast global criminal conspiracy comprised of high-profile individuals, including former heads of state. These are unprecedented circumstances. Something of this magnitude would likely need to be handled by the military. Yes, it would be handled by the military, but remember, these people are not military. They are still civilians, so they would have to be designated as enemy combatants. Just keep that in mind. In conclusion, those who think Pam Bondi was the reason for the lack of prosecutions, you are wrong. And those who think that Blanche or a new AG are going to magically change that, you're also wrong. The prosecutions will come when we reach the stage of the timeline, regardless of who sits in the AG chair at the time. At the end of the day, I trust Trump and the U.S. military, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the fate of this nation will not be left to chance. The decision to save American people and the world has already been made. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And he's absolutely right. Trump is doing this on his own timeline. He has to basically remove the system that they've created. He has to expose the system that they created. He has to have the leverage in the end. Once the people see it all and there's no way the deep state players can strike back, we can strike hard at them. And I do believe that is what Trump is setting up. And we could see that Trump, every step of the way, he's fighting against the deep state players. And he wants the Supreme Court to make a ruling, good or bad. Sometimes he just wants good. But even if it's bad, it gives him ammunition for later on. And when you look at the birthright citizenship, we know that the individual who created the 14th Amendment didn't mean it where illegals just come in and give birth and they leave and they, train their children in another country, then come back here and say they're American citizens. Because once again, what does that give you? It gives you people that do not believe in the U.S. They're not allegiant to the U.S. They're completely against the U.S., which we have right now if you really look around. So when you look at this, you could see that Trump wants a ruling either way. Either birthright was meant for the slaves or it isn't. And people are saying, well, why does he want this? I'll explain in a little bit. Peter Sangong, PhD, put this out and said, even Open Borders Wall Street Journal admits Trump is right on the birthright citizenship, that illegals and visitors should not get citizenship. And that's absolutely true. Margot Cleveland says, Trump card. The Solicitor General didn't use the most effective argument this morning. And lastly, I'd ask the justices to remember that you cannot rule against the government without agreeing with Justice Jackson. And that is really good. So maybe they'll think twice. We'll have to see how that plays out. But think about it. Like I said before, Trump wants a ruling either way. Either the Supreme Court agrees with him or If it doesn't, it tells the Congress there's a loophole in our immigration system. And that loophole has to be closed with a law. And he wants the ruling from the Supreme Court to force the next Congress to create a law that closes that loophole. No matter what, the deep state players are not going to win this whatsoever. And this is why Trump always brings it up to the Supreme Court. Hopefully, they look back in time and there's enough individuals within the Supreme Court say, okay, there's no way around this. There is precedent. The rule of law says this. The Constitution says this. And you know what? Trump is right. And hopefully they rule in this way. Even if they don't, Trump has a card up his sleeve to play later on. Every step of the way, the deep state players are not going to win. And you can see they're not winning with the elections. Trump now is using their election system against them. David Clements explains more thoughts on Trump's EO. At first blush, I thought it was rather benign. That may be its greatest strength. The Youngstown Steel case, which is the definitive case on war powers, holds that the president powers are at their zenith when he works in tandem with Congress. And that's what this EO does. It takes existing law, some of it 20 years old, and shoves it down the throats of the Democrat lawyers. While Trump still has the Trump card through his plenary authority under Article 2 to do way more, the restraint of this EO is like pitching the Supreme Court a softball, where they affirm long-held legal standards, much like the recent tariffs decision, where the court struck down one provision only to affirm several other routes for tariffs, with the president and Scott Bessent declaring victory by hiding their real power. I think a challenge to this EO may do the same. It invokes Article 2's command that the president shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. It frames non-citizen voting and unsecured mail-in ballots as violations of federal criminal statutes, 18 U.S.C. Section 241, 611, 1015, 52, U.S. Section 20511, etc. The federal government has a direct duty to prevent dilution of the citizen vote through fraud or ineligible participation, directing agencies DHS, SSA, USPS, DOJ to share verified citizenship data and secure postal transmission of ballots is faithfully executing the existing prohibitions of non-citizen voting. Not new legislation. Courts have recognized broad presidential discretion in directing executive branch enforcement priorities, especially for national interests like election integrity. Providing states with federal databases, SSA records, and DHS SAFE assists compliance with NVRA and HAVA list maintenance requirement without commandeering state officials. This is a narrower than earlier 2025 attempts to rewrite registration forms, which faced injunctions. The 2026 EO focuses more on data sharing and USPS operations. Also consider the Guarantee Clause, Article 4, Section 4. The EO cites the federal obligation to guarantee every state a Republican form of government. I would argue that widespread non-citizen voting or unverified mail-in process undermines the Republican character of elections by allowing ineligible votes to dilute lawful ones. This provides a constitutional hook for federal intervention to protect the integrity. If the electoral process itself, beyond routine matter regulations, in short, federal databases already exist for citizenship verification. The EO uses this system to fulfill HAVA NVRA accuracy mandates. The irony, of course, is that the swamp used these systems to inflate numbers and commit massive fraud. Now their toys are being used against them. Trump just trapped them in all of this. Wow. Clandestine says, to be totally clear, this election security battle is going to drag on for the next 7 months. I fully expect the Dems to obstruct at every juncture, which will force Trump to incrementally escalate the power he exercises. We are just getting started. Pace yourselves. And that is absolutely true. And you could see Trump now is using everything that they put into place to cheat against them. And if they try to go after him, it actually triggers other things. And he's pretty much trapped them in all of this. If you notice, he's trapped the deep state players, the allies, out in the EU. He's trapped the Ds here, especially with what they were doing with TSA. He's trapped them in the elections. He's going to trap them with birthright citizenship. He trapped them with the tariffs. They're not winning. They're losing every single time. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.